And you're right. The companies came in, built up without any sense of stewardship. A lot of the money didn't stay in West Virginia, and that nothing got maintained. So you're right. We're stuck here now, holding what's left, and I think it's upon us to be responsible to cooperate and move together to try and bring us to the future.
Yeah, and I it's a nonpartisan issue for everyone to agree that we did not actively think about the future. Welcome to Creepalachia. We're going to dive deep into the history of these beautiful hills. And what better way to do that than to have two folks here that are knee deep in I'm not sure what all you do, to be honest. I know it's a lot of really important stuff, and me and you got in contact, Jennings, after I posted about Nuttleberg. Did a Nuttleberg video. Yeah. And now, is it Nuttleberg? Or I've heard so many people correct me on that.
Yeah, I think people pronounce it Nuttleberg.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of
John Nuttall would have probably said, "I'm John Nuttall."
Yeah, but it's just I don't like extra syllables. Right. So when I got to do it, I'm not going to do it. And we have David Sibray here, who has spent many years in the hills telling so many stories of. I know we've used your website as a great source for different ideas, and you've done a lot of great work over the years. So I'm excited.
Thank you very much.
Meet you and talk to you.
Amen.
And you're on the board of the new River Gorge Historical Society. And today we're gonna step into the 1900s for a little bit. So I'm pretty pumped. So let's start first, Jennings. Tell me what the Historical Society is and how it was formed.
Well, we're a newer organization. We started a few months ago. Just a few of us got together. We all want to, keep the history alive of the gorge. All the extra tourism, we feel like they should get the authentic story. So we want to give people a chance to have an organization to go to and tell the stories of their families, and also be a place for people to go and do research. So that's where it all started. We're still very early in this. We're hoping, of course, to have a museum, and then do a lot of other work, but we're still pretty early. So
heck yeah. Well, how many's on the board?
Right now, 6. We're looking for one more.
Mm-hmm.
That's solid.
We got Brad Davis.
Yep.
Shout out Brad.
Myself and David. Missy McCune from Thurmond. We have Roger May from the southern part of the state as well, done a lot of work. And we have Keith Lilly, professor from Concord, history professor.
Sweet. Well, cool. I love when good things form in the hills, and I latch on to good news when I hear it. So I appreciate y'all doing this effort. So, David, tell me about yourself. How'd you get in? Like, where are you from? I don't know a lot of things.
Well, I'm from Wheeling, but I grew up in Beckley.
Oh, cool.
I'm a Beckley guy.
Okay.
And as a backstory to some of all of this is, I went off to WVU, and like many people, I planned on. That was a trajectory. In my case, I was planning to go to New York. I should have been retired to Vermont by now. What happened was my parents called me at WVU and they said, "We don't know what you're doing up there, but the ride is over. So you can go off to your New York or you can come back to Beckley." I came back to Beckley and I began to realize, this is the late 80s,
right?
That about the same time I realized my mom's roast beef was really the best roast beef is when I realized West Virginia is the best place to be. And I began to look at these chimneys and these rock formations and all the stuff we played in.
Right.
And I saw it as a destination for an adventure and a playground.
Heck yeah. Did you burn one too many couches at WVU? Is that what happened?
There was stuff going on that was not... that didn't have anything to do with academics. And that's what was going on. Sorry.
Hey, what goes on in Motown stays in Motown.
I'm thankful for all of that. But
right.
In the meantime, so I came back. I became a journalist for the Register Herald because I wanted to write about local history. I already knew I was a writer. But then I got a job at the newspaper, and that turned into me being a journalist who actually concentrated on more Appalachian stuff, went back to school in Appalachian history, came back, became an editor, became a publisher. 20 years ago, I launched West Virginia Explorer as an online. There was this new thing called the internet, and I knew that we could use it to reach people.
Sure.
And the success of the West Virginia Explorer, which is an online publication with about 12,000 pages, is that I was reaching people outside the state.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that those were the people. I would reach anyone, anywhere. And then finally we get to COVID. And so now we're in a place where the West Virginia Explorer is less about attracting people to West Virginia because they're coming. We're being joined by people who like us. Yeah. They like our accents. They like the fact that we look at them in the eye and we shake their hands, might invite them for dinner. So the West Virginia Explorer now, in my mind, is becoming more of a how-to guide, maybe as you, the same thing you're doing was, what can we do with this miraculous place that we have called West Virginia?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's a beautiful place, but it's also a bloody place. It's a soulful place. So many things, and I get that browsing through your site. Is one of the early sites that I came across, and it's funny you told me before, and you're like, I'm kind of known as the guy with the hat when you, yeah. So if you see a guy that looks like the West Virginia Indiana Jones, and he's out, and about on the landscape doing a story, it's probably David that you just watched.
Well, yeah, and I'm just in my business outfit today because business had to be done. But I want to come back to something you said, and that's about the bloody aspect of West Virginia. Often people will say to me, wow, West Virginia, how beautiful. The history of West Virginia must be, they think of mills and covered bridges, and I'm glad they do, but we know the history of West Virginia is a train wreck. This is about the battle of man against industry. And I think that really John Henry, part of the history of the gorge, becomes one of the symbols of that, but also the Hawks Nest Tunnel disaster, the Buffalo Creek flood, the Battle of Blair Mountain, the battles that to some extent with the Hatfields and McCoys, these all are these are the hallmarks, the pivots of West Virginia history.
Oh, yeah.
That's what defines us as different from the history of the Virginia or Kentucky or Pennsylvania. It's tragic, but I still am hopeful.
Yeah, it's tragic, but then we find like a simpatico like vibe for a little bit, and then we just screw it all up again. It's like we keep on going in and out of turmoil or something. I don't know. Like when you was mentioning Blair Mountain, when we, from that came the labor union, came the miners union, came good wages, came good lives. People started raising their families and being able to afford things, and then coal takes a downturn, then that hits all these communities. Then you got all these coal towns left behind. Now their water's failing. What are we going to do? So it's just a constant battle.
It's constant and it never ends. And the thing to remember is it is cyclic. And I try to, when I talk to different towns about the state, about their futures, and to make sure that they in some way codify and lock in what they're doing. Downtown Beckley is always a tragic example of what can go wrong in a National Historic District. In the 90s, Beckley was on top of the stack of what to do right with the National Historic District. And it was setting trends and it was following laws. And then gradually that spun out of control. And now we have, this is why downtown Beckley is on the State Preservation Alliance list of the most endangered properties in the state, the whole of the downtown. And it's been that lack of enforcement of what these best practices are. I hate to go into that.
Like zoning laws, or what are we talking about?
They are like zoning laws. In a National Historic District, when I talk about economic development, there are really two kinds of municipal commercial economic development. One is what happens on the beltways. One is what happens in the downtown. It's a different market. The beltways are active transportation. In the 1950s and 60s, when the federal government, when we started building these new interstate expressways, we knew that the government, the Department of Interior, the Department of Congress knew that things would fall apart in these downtowns.
Mm-hmm.
And so the question was, what do we do to help these downtowns? And what they came up with was this historic district concept, this plan. The Department of the Interior developed historic districts and provided grants and tax credits for downtown development. The idea was that they would give money to downtowns, but the downtowns, to get that money, had to protect their integrity, because they understood that it is the essence of that downtown, is the essence of any community, that is its strength. Doesn't happen necessarily on the Beltway. The Beltway is, where you have this new development. So it was building on that. And Beckley had a landmarks commission that was overseeing that architectural integrity. And over time, building by building, it started 3 mayors ago back in the 1990s, started coming down. The old Beckley Theater, that was not lawful technically. None of that stuff was lawful. So it's the same laws that you see in Shepherdstown or in Lewisburg, or in Charleston, Harper's Ferry, Capitol Street in Charleston. It's the same laws, the same code, embedded in the state code and based on federal legislation that operates all these towns. It's just, in the case of Lewisburg, they follow the law. They follow the best practices. In the case of Beckley, it's the opposite. I can't remember how we got here in the conversation.
No.
Wherever.
I think
I'll go wherever.
It's important to understand these things. And
the cyclic nature is what I was talking about.
Sure, yeah. And it's important to note, like, it's a lot of people's fault. It's not like we're pointing fingers at one certain person or
it's as much my fault as anyone.
Sure. Well, I mean, and listen, I'm very green on the subject, so I'm at fault for not even really paying attention. I have a smoking hot sugar mama that will wipe the floor with me with anything to do with this conversation, but I'm going to try to hold my own to where she won't be like, "What did you say that for?"
I think it's a lack of what you're highlighting is a lack of community involvement.
Sure. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, it is, but at the same time, it's a lack of the people who were put in place and swore an oath to do this, not doing it. And I was chairman of the Landmarks Commission, which is a judiciary body established to oversee the development of the historic district.
Okay.
And when I left, and it wasn't because I left, but it's that disassembled. And so whereas by law, the historic district, the commissioners are supposed to meet monthly or at least quarterly by federal law, they don't meet. They meet maybe once a year. And you have a municipal government that doesn't that apparently that doesn't know what's really going on. These are all laws. These are all codes. It happens the same in every town. It's just some towns do follow these laws. And people come to me often and they'll say, well, yeah, but what you're talking about impedes economic growth in these towns. And I'm like, what economic growth are you talking about? We know that these laws, these standards work. We've seen it. It's demonstrable.
Sure.
Why is it not happening here? I think that we can, because of the cyclic nature of this, we can cycle back into it before it goes too far off the tracks, which is your generation that needs to.
Well, I'll talk about it. That's about all I can do. I was telling y'all beforehand, but at the same time, like, it's important. So basically what I'm picking up is when you see a historic district, that's essentially legislative protection on maintaining integrity of this community. And there's certain processes
and it's funding. The word history, I kind of like to take out and say economic development district.
Gotcha.
Because it is all about that, really. I mean, if the buildings aren't operating, if there's not commerce going on, they don't stand long.
Yeah, and it could involve something like, we don't allow national food chains. We only allow local business owners. Or is there different caveats like that?
Or? Not per that.
Okay.
There is in terms of your building, which you've agreed to already by buying in the historic district, has to over time be returned to this on the outside, its original appearance.
Got it.
Which is often the best appearance because that's what the architect intended.
And stuff used to look way cooler, let's be honest.
Yeah. Man, it did. It just did.
Like you go to the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum and you're like, this is incredible.
Oh, yeah.
You know, just see all this hand-cut stone. But that leads us to this. So what would you say the mission statement is, Jennings? Like, is that essentially protecting these coal towns, or like what would be the initiative here? We got a map here that you pointed me to, and let's give this guy a shout out. Who'd you say made this bad boy?
Chris Delamea. He is the publisher of coalcampusa.com.
Sweet. Yeah. And it's what is this, Jennings? What are we looking at?
So this is a map that shows all of the towns kind of connected to the gorge. Shows the towns actually in the gorge, but then it also shows the growth that kind of spurred out from it. So you have all the way up to Leyland, where I'm from. And if you count there, there's 9 different dots there, which were different coal mines. And that's just on one offshoot of the gorge. So when you take all of it into consideration, you got over 60, 70 towns.
Yeah. One of my favorite things is coming across a story like there was a hospital down here by Thurmond, and you see pictures of all these nurses and all this stuff going on. And you're like, man, you go down there now and it's, if you're lucky, there's a couple stones in the ground that's remaining.
You can't even tell.
Yeah. I think the steps are still there from that place. But yeah, is that part of why you do this? Or?
Yeah, that was a big part of it. Growing up in Leyland, my dad, on the weekends, we would get in the bed of the pickup and go across Beury Mountain, come out at Thurmond, and then we would also come back across McKendree Road. And yeah, he kind of just, I don't know, growing up, I believed him, but it was just so hard to vision all of these towns riding on these roads where you don't see anything. So that was where I got it from when I was young. And then seeing things kind of deteriorate. When I was growing up, Leyland was pretty small, but we've lost at least 6 what I would say are historic houses that were old coal camp houses.
Oh, really?
That just either burnt or just fell to the ground. So seeing that and seeing the threat of, other historic buildings that people actually know about actually being torn down, like the Prince building, the Prince store, or even those ones in Thurmond that might be proposed. So that kind of is what spurred it on, and then just the love of the area. So I would say the mission statement is to honor the past and tell the authentic stories while also being a conduit for community involvement in future development.
Gotcha. Yeah. One of the things here that I wish we had protection for way back when is burial mounds. Like, because there's so many burial mounds that were probably undocumented that were just tore up for land, just to build buildings on and all this different stuff. And I'm just like, man, this stuff should matter.
Absolutely.
Like, we should remember and appreciate this stuff.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That's another one of our goals we have, is to preserve and kind of reclaim some cemeteries. Talking with a gentleman that works in the park, he's documented over 100 cemeteries that are just forgotten, just in the national park alone. So,
wow.
I think there's a big need for that. I know families, and obviously I have family that are buried in some of those cemeteries that are long gone. So, or at least long forgotten. They're not gone yet, but hopefully we can make a difference in that.
Yeah.
These resources just outside the park are not being protected. I mean, in the park now, I know it's a little questionable, are they being protected? But outside the park, we have, and that's why when Jennings approached me about this, I was on board, is that we have these, again, resources, cemeteries, old buildings that are outside the park that need to be protected as much. And we don't have that funding source, but we would be able to establish these funding sources by establishing trusts, easements, we could go almost anywhere. It's what I want to help open this to. It's far more than a historical society. It's a historical society on steroids.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, and maybe even, in the future, starting some trails where there's some roadside signage and people can actually stop and see outside of the park some of the historical areas, and maybe bring a little bit of life back to Route 41 or Route 20, some of those areas.
One of the first successes we've had, which I guess this is the announcement now, is that we're working with the Raleigh County Historical Society to establish markers for the Stanford Massacre, which is you may know about it. That's one of the first clashes, if you call it a clash, in the history of the Cold Wars occurred at Stanford, in which there were Unionists who had come up out of Quinnamont to East Beckley, Atkinsville, and they were rallying, and the Marshals chased them out to Stanford City, as they called Stanford.
Yeah, I've never heard this
on
one.
The map
Okay,
right
yeah.
Yeah, it was one of the first documented things, and definitely not really a battle, more of a massacre, but yeah.
Yeah. And in the middle of the night, the Marshals opened fire on the people in this town, killed six.
Yeah, surrounded the cabin, basically.
Mother Jones showed up within a few days, but there's no marker, very little record. But we've been able to get 3 markers that we're looking at installing partly as part of that trail system that's going in along the Piney Creek Gorge.
I have to check that out, man. Yeah, the only thing I've done around here was the only hanging in Raleigh County, where it's in Beckley.
It's the
down
Wendy's.
There. Yeah, now it's the weed Wendy's or
the
whatever.
Weed Wendy's.
I don't know.
The vape shop. Yeah,
the vape shop. Yeah. I mean, shout out to the vape shops, whatever. But it was a Wendy's. So, but yeah, it was like right there. So I thought that was really.
And that's
crazy
another thing. Just speaking to the history. I don't think there's much documentation on any of the struggles, or not much documentation on the struggles of the miners in this area. I think there is documentation of some of the very strict mine owners or mine superintendents. About the 3 stores, the one still standing in Whipple. Those are kind of notorious. So there's some of those, but I think hopefully that one thing we can do is uncover some history on the miner's perspective of it.
Oh yeah. Oh dude. What just in 1930, we don't even know how many people died in Hawks Nest.
Yeah,
it's
right.
like
exactly.
we can't even document how many people died.
Right.
Imagine how much stuff we missed.
Exactly. And
over the years.
Going to that monument you mentioned of Hawks Nest that they have up on 19. I don't know if you've ever been.
I have not. I'm gonna go this year.
It's a nice place, and the people that did it did awesome work, like great work. It's a special place to go. But if you go and count the markers, it's not even 10% of the conservative number of 700 and something people. So
yeah,
I think, like you say, that just kind of speaks to what's missing right now that maybe can be uncovered.
Oh yeah. And then they had the cemetery. Don't they have a cemetery there? Near Hawks Nest?
Exactly.
I haven't went there. Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah, it's not quite near Hawks Nest. It actually was moved away for other social reasons at the time. But it's closer to Summersville than it is actually Hawks Nest.
Okay.
And that's something as an ancillary. Again, we're engaging with all kinds of energies. There is a convergence going on of people now in the New River Gorge area and all of West Virginia who their ideas and their energies are coming together. So there's several different people who are talking about, including us, about not just a monument to the Hawks Nest disaster, but some sort of an interactive exhibit, not just a sign, but something that people can get out of their cars, go to this thing, learn about this disaster. And it was the most notorious of many, because this is not the first time people died drilling in sandstone in a tunnel.
For other people.
Oh, they're still that. Yeah. Dude, over 12,000 a year still globally.
Right.
Dying of silicosis.
Well, Pet Song talked to you about that.
Sam came on and I started looking into it and I was like, man, let me look at this up, because he believes there's like just an ongoing Hawk's Nest disaster just going on constantly. And the data backs it up. Mm-hmm. Like it's over 12,000 globally. Now there's a lot of crazy miners out there across the world. But at the same time, I think even U.S. alone is over 300, I think is the average. People dying of silicosis every year.
No, and we're leading the country this year, not even from silicosis that I know of, but just from on-the-job accidents or deaths right now. We're leading the country, so.
Well, you got to, if you're not first, you're last, Jennings. So, I mean, that's a terrible joke. But anyway, so yeah, and everyone, the problem is a lot of people, it's so volatile now that when you say you want to protect something, they automatically assign you to being the other or something that like you're trying to trample on their way of life. And that's just not the case. It's like all of these things are crumbling around us.
Yeah.
Let's all figure out how to keep them from crumbling. I mean, that's basically all it is. So, I'm sure I'm sure you run into some red tape or wheel or, everyone does trying to get things done. There's a lot of legislative stuff, I'm sure, that you got to go through and to figure out how to even be allowed to put a marker up. I don't even know what you do. Like if someone knows of a historic location, what do they even do to kind of get it documented?
We are working on I am working on an easement right now, and working with some attorneys to figure out what would be the ideal easement. In the case of the markers, we've got 3 of them that are going to go up near Stanford. Question is, where do we put them, and how can we be assured if we put them where we put them that they'll stay there, that the next person coming along says, I don't want people on my property. We've got to avoid that. So we're working on that. It does get into red tape. There's a lot of people who are more than willing to have the marker put up, but we need to worry about, like we were talking about, the cyclic nature of things, how to get through the next cycle, because the cycle will always cycle in the opposite direction.
You know what I think people miss out a lot is they'll paint a mural and they won't have a maintenance plan for keeping the mural like 20 years from now.
Right.
Even. I think a lot of times we have these really good ideas that we think about for about 2 years and then we kind of forget about it. Move on to the next thing, problem, instead of establishing a constant, I don't know if it's a protocol or what it would be just to maintain everything.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got to think about that. That's the situation with the trails around Beckley, and I'm very big on trails. When Gary Moorfield and Tom Sofer and I were working on the trail system around Beckley, it occurred to us, we're all aging. What are we going to do? What's going to happen 5 years from now? We're going to be okay. The trail systems are doing better than ever. And that's one of the reasons we invested in getting together with the West Virginia Conservancy and the Land Trust to establish this. And now we're working on easements with these trails to make sure that they're kept over time. This conversation can go anywhere, can't it?
No, I love it. I mean, it's West Virginia as a whole. Like, we have a lot of stuff breaking, and I feel like, let's take a coal town, for instance. Just their water stopping is quitting working, obviously, because there were cheap systems put in place that didn't really have a long-term maintenance plan. And we're here 50, 60, 70 years later.
Yeah.
And it's like, and everyone is that's around are great people, but there's not a lot of revenue flowing. There wasn't a lot of active tax revenue built up over time. You don't have savings accounts. You don't have all these different things set up. And now it's like, what do we do? And it's essentially, they're kind of being told good luck.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating.
No, that's fair. And you're right. The companies came in, built up without any sense of stewardship. A lot of the money didn't stay in West Virginia, and that nothing got maintained. So you're right. We're stuck here now, holding what's left, and I think it's upon us to be responsible to cooperate and move together to try and bring us to the future.
Yeah, and I it's a nonpartisan issue for everyone to agree that we did not actively think about the future. Like, it was great when coal was rolling and you bring home these fat sacks of scrip and we can get 4 loaves of bread, honey. It was all great. until over time, they were, I hate to say forgotten because they're not forgotten by me or you, but that's the only term you can think about is,
I wonder if the early operators did think, we're all human and we're of limited mental capacity. I can tell you I am. But the matter is I think that they didn't think what happens when the coal plays out.
Sure.
And they did to some extent. They thought because they knew with the coal camps of southern West Virginia, up in northern West Virginia, they call them coal patches. And the houses are usually, if you're mining the Pittsburgh seam, which is hugely thick, you're not worried about people coming and going. But in these coal camps of southern West Virginia with thinner seams, you're only going to have 2 or 3 years maybe of habitation in a camp. Well, what happened, I believe, is that as that development was going on, new roads were being built. And suddenly people could, guess what, live in the camp. And when that mine plays out, they can go work in another mine. So now we're in a situation where these shoddily built old coal camp houses, but there was no plan for what happens when humans do what humans do, which is find a home. No matter where we live, after about a year, that's starting to be home for some of us, especially in Appalachia.
I can't move anywhere. I want to stay here. I hate going to even Charlotte. I just hate traffic.
Yeah, anywhere I can't see the mountains, I just don't feel right.
When I come home, like say I go to California or whatever, it's great. But when you come home, literally, when you start getting near Appalachia, it's like a warm hug.
Yeah,
every time. And I'm like, I'm home. Like, this is my roots. This is where, maybe it's my own mental illness or something. I don't know what it is, but that's just how I've always felt. But yeah, and then coal miners are smart too. Like, I want to put it out there. Like, I appreciate coal. I worked in the mines for 9 years. It gave me a life that I never could have got as a college dropout. And coal miners are smart too, and they know that stuff's going to run out. It takes millions of years to create. It's going to run out. We know this. It eventually will run out. So, but then they get offended when you try to not necessarily talk about that, but shout at them. Like, if you try to tell them something, it's not going to happen.
No.
But if you have a conversation with them, typically we'll be like, yeah, you're right. Like, we know, we don't know what else to do.
Yeah, you can't talk at people. I think that's another problem that people from here don't understand is you can't talk at us. We'll talk with you all day. Even if we are disagreeing, we don't mind to talk. And I respect coal miners as well. My grandparents both my grandpas were coal miners, great grandpas. So definitely respect the miners and all the work they did. And I think that a biggest part of the problem is they weren't focused on when things were being developed. They weren't, the systems that we talk about, the towns and the houses, they didn't think about the convenience of the people. So.
Well, the people that had the purse were like, yeah, we kind of know, like, we're going to mine the crap out of this and then we're out. Like, right. And then the people that plant roots in the community, they don't have the money to fix it. They just don't. I mean, you talk about billions of dollars. It's going to take billions of dollars to even scratch the surface on fixing all these. If you was just to snap a finger and say, all these coal towns are fixed.
Right.
Billions of dollars. I don't even know what the number would be. But you're talking about places that'll need complete infrastructure uprooted, replaced from the pump house on.
No doubt.
First off, that's just that. Then you get the roads, you get the bridges, you get all these different things, and you can't help but get overwhelmed. But at the same time, you got to stay positive because that's why you're doing this. I mean, you got to keep this stuff alive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just make one point. It's going to take a lot of money and a lot of investment, but it didn't take very long for another coal outfit to show up in packs, did it? They're still building that facility to load some more coal out there.
Oh, so, really? Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't take long for a new facility to pop up, gas wells, things like that. So I think investment's been here. It's just been very selective, and we haven't benefited.
They care about the green revenue, not the red revenue, the blood of the place. You know what I mean? It's like, So yeah, it's. I mean, if it's gonna make money, like yeah, we'll do that. If there's a return that's substantial for me, problem is there's no return. You go fix the water in Gary, West Virginia,
right?
You just got people that have clean water, which I think is a beautiful thing,
right?
But that's not a return that speaks, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now it does me, but we got some show and tell here. What are these photos we're looking at?
These are some old pictures of the town of Leyland. They've got pictures of the actual coal camp here with houses.
A little higher, about where you might. There it is. Yeah.
It's got the houses. Let's see. I think the company store's in this one.
Describe what a coal town was for someone who may not even have a clue what we're talking about.
So this picture, I'm going to guess, is from the 1920s. So a coal camp back then, just Leyland, for example. It was in the coal company magazines. They had their own publications that they put out for employees and stuff to make them, just to let them know about the news and make them feel like more of a community, I guess. And when they described Leyland, they talked about it being a model town, how the houses actually had 4 or 5 rooms versus the typical 3 in other coal camp houses. And the power station they built, you can actually see it there. It's still an active company. In Leyland, and I don't know, you can just tell that it was built to last. Now, besides those buildings, you drive through there, you wouldn't be able to tell now. But I think that another thing that comes from that, and the people being, we've said forgotten, and I'd agree with that. But I don't want people to get the impression that we're neglected. Like, we've picked up the slack. The people pick up the slack. That's what we're hoping to do here with trying to preserve and protect. But growing up, my grandma picked up the slack, running the angel tree for our community and cooking food to sell and things like that. So I think in the future, we have to do the same thing. We just have to pick up the slack, see what the problem is, work together and do it. Nobody's coming here to save us. So
touch grass, as they say. Like, you got to get off these screens and like kind of get involved and actively help the community. And yeah, that's West Virginians. If I was to say describe West Virginia, the one word would be resilient. Like, we take care of our own. We, of course, we want help, but we're not going to beg for it.
Absolutely.
We're gonna, speak truth to power, and that's just how we've always done. And that's part of what I love about it. But I'm glad you pointed that out. Is like, we do, like, there are people in these communities solving their own problems. And the national news often gets it wrong when they just come in and let me find the dirtiest building and let me talk to, whoever. And
every time.
Yeah.
Something about also in defining coal towns is that when journalists come in from outside the state and I'm hosting them and helping them, I have to describe what a coal town is. And unlike an organically formed town where maybe you starts off with a farmer or two and they develop a mill and then a granary and people begin to build around a resource, often a waterfall that upon which a mill is established. In this case, you have a corporation come in, needs miners, needs housing, establishes a town with these things, but the people don't own it. Now, then what happens often here is the coal company allows people to buy those homes. It didn't happen in every case. It happened in most cases. And that's how, when we see what we see in coal towns now, that's what we're looking at. Something constructed, over a period of a year or two, in which then eventually the resource that ran it went away. Again, it's not like the editor of the Register Herald at one time had established a group. I was playing not a devil's advocate, but what I was saying to him is, because he was complaining about the way coal companies and land companies treat people. And I said, I want you to think about at the same time, if you had employees here at the Register Herald and they happened to live in the building and that then you had to fire that guy, is he still going to live in the building, or are you going to cast him out? And the answer was, well, he's not going to live here. And I said, well, exactly.
But get his sorry butt out of here.
Yeah. But these are nuances that I just like to think about. I always worry when I say playing the devil's advocate. I was like, Dave, where are you going with this? But the matter is, it's not like anything that really ever happens. Gold towns, copper mines, those all have to deal with some of the same situations, but not like we have here.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and it's not, morals are not legislated for these companies to, like, a typical business person is not going to be driven by like empathy and morals. They're going to be driven by numbers, but there are business owners out there, and I consider myself one of those, that I personally have to take care of people that grow with me. And that's just how I've always felt. And it's nothing against anyone in their business. That's just how I feel personally. But typically people just don't feel that way. There's a lot of big organizations that do, and they are trying out different pay structures, and they're figuring out how to, give back and different things like that. But typically, that's part of why it's so hard.
It's what I like about small businesses, and that's what I like about small businesses for West Virginia. And we're being joined by the work from home revolution by people moving here who think altruistically as well. They're not thinking in a corporate way.
Which I want to ask you about real estate.
Yeah.
That brings me to that. So all these people buying all these houses in Fayette County, David.
Yeah.
Shot it to the moon, son. And now you got a bunch of 30-year-olds that can't buy houses. So I guess there's always problems that pop up. And that's one of them that occurred that that really sucks, because you got a lot of people that are struggling financially anyway. And then there's no way they can buy a house because the house prices just rocketed from the pandemic, and all these people buying houses sight unseen that were like peanuts to them, because it wasn't nearly the cost it would be in New York.
Right.
So even with success comes problems.
Amen. It's the reality, and it's economic Darwinism, and it's what do we do? Well, one of the things that we can do is we can work on the other communities in which that's not happening.
Sure.
So we do have Mount Hope. Mullins is an extremely walkable community. I was working with a guy down there, and he's talking about how crime is low. Many of the criminal people who have addictions are unfortunately come to places like Charleston and Beckley. But so these other little towns that once had trouble because they didn't have the economic, because the extractive industry was gone, now have become welcoming communities to people who can work from home.
I love Mullins.
I do too.
Yeah,
I have
absolutely.
high hopes. Sophia has become a great little town. At one point in my history, I would have said, move to Shady, don't move to Sophia. Now I'm like,
dude, the Chinese alone.
amen, brother.
In Sophia. And I try, I love all these communities. I think they all have really bright spots about them. And
Absolutely.
The question is, and I'm sorry, but what do we do in this place called McDowell County, where you had 100,000 people in 1950, and now I'm going to say 110,000 people.
I'm gonna.
That's another story.
I got a hot take that I think happens in a lot of these small communities. Love them to death, but we eat our own. We form tribes and we attack each other. And I think that creates that's almost as detrimental, if not more, to progress than what has happened over the past 80 years. I just feel like, I don't know if it's ego or something. I don't know. It seems like we just find a way to bicker at each other and not agree with someone, and just to not go along with it. What is the saying? Something about spiting our own face or something. I can't remember the saying. But anyway, I think that's one big issue that I wish didn't exist, that I think we could go leaps and bounds ahead if everyone could kind of get in the same room and agree on something.
Yeah, collaboration is definitely important.
Yeah.
And I think that tribalism happens somewhat in some places. I think the problem that we see in some of our areas is the tribe happens to be the haves, and everybody who wants to actually make a change aren't in that group. And then of course, we are wary of outsiders. So
heck yeah,
a little bit
dude.
of that, but
no, anyone that comes in with a camera, I'm gonna like call the police on them. No, I don't do that, but I do check people out,
right.
And I'm very cautious when it comes to people just showing up. And it sounds bad, but like, someone shows up in a small town, everyone's like, why are they here?
Yeah.
We're like, we need people. And then they show up and we're like, there's
what's
something
their
off
motives?
about this guy. Yeah,
what's going on?
And sometimes there are motives, but in general there are not. But yeah, we're funny. We're funny people. We're funny, beautiful, great, terrible people.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Right.
Just all of the above,
people,
the full spectrum. What do we got? What's this picture we got here?
This one's also in Leyland. That's all I have today is Leyland pictures.
Okay.
But
I've never heard of Leyland.
Yeah, we were out on the end of the Laurel Creek line. So,
where's it at on here?
Right. Go down. Yep. Right.
Oh, got it.
There.
Got it.
That big dotted line is actually the mine lease, which was one of the bigger ones. I think it was 40,000 acres.
Yeah.
When it was done. But it's kind of funny. Quinnamont was where the first mine opened in the gorge ever. And it's where Laurel Creek and the new meet. So Quinnamont had the mines, and then they ended up opening export shortly after that. This was in the 1870s. And then they ended up, I think 20 or 30 years later, they had built it out to Greenwood and Hemlock, which is where my grandma was born.
Dude, what are all these places?
I'm sure you've driven through there, but you wouldn't know. And then, Leyland was the end of the line, 8 miles by track from Quinnamont and Prince.
Was Leyland a Joe Berry town? Or Berry?
No, it was a
Berry coal company.
New and Pocahontas coal company town.
Have you been to the Berry Monument at Quinnamont?
No.
We got to get you out more.
There's a whole monument for Joseph L. Berry. He was a Union captain that ended up opening a bunch of mines. He ended up, I guess, buying and opening Quinnamont. And that's where the monument is. He was the first person to ship coal from the New River Gorge by train. So there's a really nice monument there that the other coal operators actually paid to have built. So kind of unique.
And what would you say? Thurman's probably the one everyone's probably heard
most
of,
famous,
right?
Yeah, for sure. And I can understand that. I mean, it's beautiful there. It still has its commercial row and everything. And we want to have a big part of our mission will be with Thurman and stuff as well. So
I got an idea for you. Let's rebuild the Dun Glen. Come on, boys.
I'm on it.
We can do it.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
They had the story of the 14-year poker game and all this stuff, which the Dun Glen, how did it burn down? I can't remember.
Actually, if you go on the National Park site and go in their old recordings, there's a funny conspiracy in there. But other than that, it was just no one really found out.
Oh, there is?
Yeah. If you actually go, well, it's not from that. They did interviews of people back in the 80s all through the gorge. And an older gentleman was giving the interview and talked about how the Dun Glen was burnt down on purpose.
Did he live there?
No. It was, well,
you have to send
I guess it's so old, it doesn't matter if I spread rumors now.
I mean, hey, alleged.
Yeah. It was alleged the other hotel owner paid a couple of drunks to go burn down the Dun Glen so to drum her business back up.
Oh, we call that the MacDowell special, son. Like, come on. No. I mean, of course not. There's no fraud going on. But yeah, that's what I think. And there's some stuff about Thurman being haunted and different stuff. But I went to Nuttleburg, and it blew me away.
Yeah,
I was like,
seeing everything still there. Yeah.
First off, you have to pack the donkey for like 7 days to get down there, but which was really cool as part of the experience. I was thinking the whole time, please, no one come the other direction.
Right. Yeah,
because I'm down there in the truck. But you get down there, and it's just this wonderland of just history.
Yeah, absolutely. and a lot of history from there as well. Historic figures from there.
Like Henry Ford's tied to down there. Didn't he buy?
Yeah, he bought that. Didn't keep it very long once he figured out that miners weren't that easy to whip into shape. So he ended up selling that out. But yeah, a lot of history down there, and other places like Kaymore's another cool place like that. Quinamont is a hidden gem as well. There's 2 churches. Have you seen those down there?
No.
The white and the black church are actually still there. The park owns them. And they're cool to see. I don't know if you can get in them or not. I haven't talked to the park, but they're really cool to see them still standing and seeing the history there. So
I'm definitely going to check that out. I'm going to get to more places this year when it gets warm. How is so it's managed by the national park, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. Is there anything that's occurred in the past however many years? Like, how is the national park managing these places now? Do they actively have funding to do maintenance, or what is the exact process with that?
I think funding has been a tightened faucet, I guess.
Well, yeah. I'm going to speak systemically about what's gone on with the Park Service. So, under the parks were never adequately funded, but that's the way of things. However, during the first Trump administration, it was decided that parks weren't as vital, and so funding was cut. And when that occurred, the parks systemically decided we don't have the money to do what it takes to take care of all of this. So we're going to concentrate on saving the natural resources and enhancing as best we can the waterfalls, the trails, and we're going to have to let some of the cultural resources go. Mm-hmm. And so that is one of the reasons that we're looking at that the National Park Service has decided to demolish many historic structures in Thurman, not just structures generally. But
they're tearing some down?
Yeah,
sorry to cut you off.
There's been some news stories, that they have the funding to go ahead and move with tearing down some important structures. Homes in Thurman, the Prince Brothers store, which is really significant in itself. It was the only store that was not coal company ran nearby. So people would get on the train to come to Prince just to buy stuff because it was cheaper.
You ruined my freaking day.
It's a huge issue, and the state legislature has come out and said they don't want it. But all superintendents of parks are autonomous. Almost no one can tell them what to do. There had been a study of these resources done about 3 years ago by Aurora Consultants, and they found no need to demolish anything, just to continue to mothball, which that's called in preservation terms, of just keep the roots out of the buildings, try to keep the water out of the buildings, and wait for a better day. Unfortunately, then what happened is they decided, let's just get rid of not the big brick and stone buildings.
No, not Commercial Road.
Yeah,
but
most
of the
I
other
want to keep everything.
Well, me too. Yeah, amen.
Absolutely.
I want it all to sit there. To me, it's like it's the Appalachian pyramids.
Yeah.
Kind of. It's like I want it to stay. I don't care if it's a pebble.
Everybody,
when
they come down here, they have to go see it.
Yeah.
No, I'm with you.
The cultural and the integrity of that landscape is just vital. And to me, it's economic development. I know people think of me as a historian. I could be, but the thing is, I really am interested in is building on the best of who we are and what we have.
Yeah, well, they correlate too. Like when when was the national park system invented? What president did that? I can't even.
Roosevelt.
Was it Roosevelt? Okay, I remember when they did
Teddy Roosevelt, I believe.
Yeah, they did it, and then I think they saw an economic spike, like really.
At least the first national forest.
Yeah, and then they started sprouting up everywhere, and then New River Gorge. I know how it affected us economically when we got that designation. I mean, the biggest problem was the trails aren't wide enough. You can't find anywhere to park. You can't find a bathroom because everyone was coming here. So it obviously works, and it's important, and people care about this stuff, and they'll bring their 5-gallon water bottles with all their stickers from all the different places. It's important to people. So I don't know. to me, they correlate. It's an investment.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is with that anyway. Now, fixing Coal Town's water, unfortunately, doesn't. But at the same time,
well, it depends if you see it as a dying coal town or somewhere for.
And I think many rebound, people who are coming here see it as a potential for investment and to have a life that they always dreamt about. And yeah, it's a dream. Often, if your dream is to move to, certain places, what I'm getting at there is it's not always the dream that they see, but they are willing to move here. And I don't know what else economically we could have done. Now, part of it, we're talking about the New River Gorge, but also I'm talking about places down deep in the coal fields, with people moving in. But how could we have done more without having more people move in who saw what we see and helping us? And that's why I'm so, I get it with new people moving in, the gentrification in places and the fact that we can now no longer afford to buy that house we always almost wanted in Fayetteville.
Yeah. Well, if you see somewhere you can get a house for $187, they're gonna be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's way low. I mean, that was take all these jokes with a grain of salt, but that's kind of why like people are like, I can't afford to live. Where do I move? Okay, this place where houses are very cheap.
Yeah, 10%.
And I'm gonna figure it out
somewhere else. Yeah. No, that's fair.
But I think, but also people are moving here to retire sometimes.
Yeah, a lot of people move back. But I also hear that, I understand people because I had to move to Fairmont. I'm from Leyland. I had to move to Fairmont, just get a decent job and, house. Lucky enough. And I understand people. I think it's less, we don't like outsiders and more, why are we not able to take care of ourselves in the same place? But
I don't know too many West Virginians who don't like outsiders. Once they meet them, they're like, he's all right.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's not that we don't like him. It's that we're guarded.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Absolutely.
It's like, I got to give it a little bit before we let you in the circle. But once you're in, like, we'll, bear arms and march to Blair Mountain with you. Like, but it takes a little while and it takes a lot of trust and, you just kind of, feel people out and see how it goes. But yeah, I just, and people that move, they didn't want to, typically most people, that's why a lot of this stuff, a lot of the content, a lot of this stuff that people really appreciate is because I've seen so many comments of people just saying how homesick they are and how this really, this story feels like my childhood, all that stuff is really, really cool.
Absolutely.
But it just shows you that people didn't want to leave. They may, there may be some people that move and bash it and, this and that and do the whole mean thing. But in general, people just didn't want to leave.
They're lying to themselves. They know West Virginia's best.
Even the bashers, are emotionally involved in what they're bashing. So.
It's kind of like they're mad. They're mad at it. It's like, I wish we would have worked out. It's your fault for the divorce.
No, that's fair. Absolutely.
But I feel like, how did you start getting into slinging real estate, David? How did you go from journalism to that?
Journalism happened as a kind of actually a sideline because it was all about coolness. It was all about how do we save this cool stuff. Even as a kid, I saw cool stuff and I thought, wow, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I became a journalist kind of like by default, just as a means of communicating with other people in Southern West Virginia. But I became a realtor because I wanted to save historical properties. I didn't think in terms of, I didn't really, realty and realtors were not some people that I had a lot. I didn't think much of it, and so it never occurred to me to go into real estate. But then one day I woke up and I realized if I can find people who can not only afford to buy some of these properties, but afford to restore them and keep them and protect them and be the next steward. So that has become what I do. And when I sell or agree to sell any property, that's what I have to be emotionally met here. I can't, it's an art form for me.
Cool.
That's the only way I could do this stuff.
That's great. What's the coolest building you sold? I know you had Itmann for a little while.
Itmann.
Yeah, is that the coolest?
Well,
it looks like a castle.
Yeah. So with Itmann, we've established a foundation, and that's going to be somewhat tourism based. The swastika building down at Raleigh.
Oh, yep.
Huh? How do you not know of it?
Power building in
as
Raleigh?
much as you? Yeah. So the old powerhouse.
We had Nazis in Raleigh?
No.
What are we talking?
Before Nazis.
Okay.
There's a building in Raleigh with a sandstone course around it that has swastikas.
Jesus.
Probably
And
40.
it was
In the stone?
1914.
Yeah. etched in it, Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a great building as well, but it's just what people remark about it, because this was 1914.
I mean,
the
yeah.
Nazis hadn't developed this symbol.
Absolutely.
But
Well, it used to mean something else, correct?
Yeah, it was like strength or.
Well, across the world, it's
Yeah,
just
it
been
was-
a cool design.
it was definitely
so
like a
every
positive
culture
thing.
has had some sort of, it's luck. It's the Indians had it. Every culture has
That's
come
right.
up with that being just a cool thing. A
Right.
spiral, really.
Until that one freaking group had to screw it all up.
They ruined the postage stamp mustache. You can't do that anymore.
No, you can't. I think Michael Jordan had it for like 3 days, and he was like, I don't need to have this.
This isn't working.
Yeah, it's like this ain't working.
The Itmann. Right now, we're working on the Penn Springs Hotel. That's we have a young couple who is looking at turning that back into a full scale hotel. Salt Sulphur Springs. That's another one that's where we're a group of healthcare folks are looking at turning it to restoring the 3 mineral springs there themselves. And I've got about 4 different old company stores right now. We recently sold the Scarborough Company store. I've got Summerlee, I've got Lock Kelli, and at Kennard, the
Oh, yeah.
Coal Run Company store.
You don't have Whipple? It was a Whipple?
I'm working with the owner of Whipple on. He's got other people working with him. I have, as a member of the board of the Preservation Alliance, I have gone to Whipple to do an inspection last year. Our finding at that point was that there was no sign of water intrusion, which is the big thing you got to watch out for, and that security seemed fine. Now, over the last year, even, that appears to have disassembled a bit. So it's a concern. It's a concern that it's going to take one teenager with a torch to take that down, in the same way that, the New Salem, or not New Salem, but the
Irish Mountain
Church.
Catholic
We've
Church,
had
yep.
success at New Salem. We've got that on the National Register now. They've got a $400,000 through the grant through the Preservation Alliance and the National Park Service to put in to paint the thing, to stabilize it, to get lighting in there, to do everything we can at the New Salem Baptist Church, the only remnant of the black camp at Tams, to save that thing.
Heck yeah. Well, that's good.
That wasn't a real estate thing. That's just like happenstance to what I do.
Sure, yeah, no, that's cool. So Whipple's haunted, right? It seemed like I heard it was haunted. I can't remember. I don't know. I know David used like, I don't really do haunted. We done some river monster things, but
well, I'll tell it. This is the thing: is I don't believe in ghosts necessarily. I do believe in ghost stories.
Nobody's perfect.
I'm not the guy. Yeah, I'm not the guy who kicking dirt in the campfire saying y'all need to stop telling your tales. I'll tell them as much as anyone.
Perfect.
And I'll expand on them. I'll just claim not to believe them at the same time.
Sure,
now, what I hear is that this happened, but
yeah,
that's funny.
Whipple's a concern. Whipple is the last left of a
Awesome
company's
architecture,
sort of
yeah.
store and it's in such an important place.
Mm-hmm. It's one of the big ones people talk about usually that I hear.
A lot of history there, and in all those little camps, for sure.
That's what the history. I'm learning stuff new all the time. Like in Scarborough, for instance, there's actually an episode. Well, it won't be tomorrow. This ain't released until next week. But on the 4th, about the murder of Dr. Wingrove and Mrs. Georgia Broyles. That was his kind of live-in assistant. I heard about that. A lady came in here. She's like, yeah, I lived in that house and he was like murdered in my bedroom. And they didn't tell me until I was 13.
Man.
And I was like, and then I looked it up and how they identified the killer is he had a big old chaw of tobacco and they thought it was a face deformity.
Oh, wow.
And someone saw him like walking around the garage. But I think it may be the West Memphis 3 of Appalachia though, because they were real young and they had real low IQ. And there's a lot of weird things with it, but I think they got it right. I think they found the killers, but it's a weird, disturbing story. But anyway, that's what I love about doing this stuff. I mean, I know you probably have a lot of the same feelings if you walk on some kind of property. There's just some kind of feeling I get. It's like a calm. It's like a calm thickness in the air or something of like, that something happened here X amount of years ago, and it's kind of an honor to be able to just stand here.
Absolutely.
I get that feeling a lot. Now, I also get the feeling just because in some cases, a realtor, I was actually walking up the steps to the Itmann Company store one day and I realized I'm part of the history of this place now, just a little part, but being able to find the next steward for that property was something that was just awe-inspiring. Every once in a while, I just wake up and realize, Dave, you're part of this universe. It's
beautiful, man. What was that place? Like when they said, hey, let's build this random, because there's an old photo around the coal camp. And it's setting right there. Still looks the same as it does now. Obviously the inside's changed a little bit, but what was it? Was it a company store?
It was. To me, it is the quintessence of the company store.
Okay.
So Itmann, who was a coal operator, who unlike other coal operators, many of whom were from the anthracite fields.
Itmann.
Yeah.
Okay.
Itmann,
it makes sense. That makes sense now.
Itmann was a banker from Alderson who began to amass interests in different things, including coal. Mm-hmm. And so he lived much of his life at Bramwell. I believe he also maybe had a place at Cape May, New Jersey. He did well, but he had, through the Pocahontas Coal and Fuel Company, many different investments, and he hired a feller named Alex Mahood, who was a Parisian-trained architect, to be his main architect. And Mahood built the Jenkins Jones. He built several of these big old rambling company stores. But the quintessence of it all was at Itmann. Itmann had actually been located about a half mile down the road. Mm-hmm. But what they did is they built this earthwork, an arcs and stairs of homes. And they put everybody there. And then they built this ultimate coal company office store complex. The office was on one side, the store was on the other. You had that loggia of an arched porch out front, and with what seems to be a courtyard. The courtyard is actually a staging area for the freight being freighted in and out of the town. So it all was functionally great. After that, Mahood, that was like the last of the coal company, these coal companies' big buildings, because at that point, coal was starting to consolidate and things were changing.
Automate.
Mahood went on to build, he went into collegiate architecture. So at WVU, he built the Creative Arts Center, Towers dorms. That all was that same architect who went on to build that. Towers of Concord was a Mahood.
That's so cool, man.
Speaking of cool buildings, just to get back on the gorge.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
You see Beury there. That had a 23-room mansion.
Right. Let's see. Let me bring. Oh, where'd my cursor go? All right, there we go. All right.
Go down. Right there in the middle.
In the middle. Oh, yep, got it.
Dave brought him up earlier. Joseph L. Berry, who the monument's after. That's who the town's named after, and I'm pretty sure the mountain is named after too. He built his mansion there and lived with his family there until he passed. It was a 23-room mansion, and was from everything I've heard, was the very first air-conditioned house in the state.
Wow.
They supposedly dug a trench for Fire Creek, which is close by, to run in under the house, and in the summer they would remove grates so the cold air would come up. But that was there. And then if you've heard of Melsina Fields?
No.
The hermit of the New River Gorge?
Dude, yeah, I mean, just constant stories I've never heard of. What's this one?
So she was a black woman who ended up, when everybody left the town of Beury, she stayed without any power, water, sewer, without any infrastructure.
Right.
She lived in the old house until it burnt. And then she lived in the company store, the remnants of it, basically, up until, I'm pretty sure, in her 80s. Just lived by herself completely. And that happened there at Beury. The train operators would actually get groceries for her in Thurman and drop them off at the end of her little trail at Beury. She'd come down and get them, and that's how they knew something was wrong. One day she didn't get her groceries.
Oh.
But yeah, there's a lot of history. You mentioned McKendree Hospital earlier.
Oh, yeah, that's, McKendree.
So that was one of 3 hospitals built by the state for miners. So it's called the Miners Hospital. But very big complex. They had problems with getting nurses, so they actually made it a nursing school. And they housed the superintendent and the nurses there on site. And then actually, I have a friend who has a picture, family photo of President Grover Cleveland actually in the hospital there. So it apparently, was a pretty big, important complex at one point.
It's such a nice place.
Yeah, gorgeous.
No longer there.
Yeah, from a period when everybody lived in the gorge, and around the gorge, up in the plateaus, was just farm country. Not a whole lot of people living.
Hospitals nearby. Yeah,
everything was along the railroad in the gorge.
Yeah,
look at that place.
Yep, gorgeous. How many places have you been? Gorgeous.
Yeah, you didn't. I got that. I was like,
I didn't even get it. Yep, I'll be here all week. How many places have you been in your journeys? Do you kind of like plan it tandem with other, like you're like, well, I got to go sell this property over here. I'm going to go over here and do this story.
Now somewhat, but everything's very zen.
Right.
It's like where the energy happens to be, I ride that wave. But about 15 years ago, I was in a position in which I was able to travel the state for a year. And so we have 380 different town pages as the explorer. So I went to every town and I tried to pick out a photograph of the quintessence of that town.
Gotcha,
like if it was a railroad town, I'd get something about the railroad. If it was a town on the Ohio River, I'd try to get the wharf. I looked for, again, the essence. If it was a college town, I'd get the college. And when I talk to towns, that's one of the things I say to them. As I say, let's look around at the visual landscape and see what is the essence of your town. And if I can open their eyes up and let them see that, the old Main, or whatever's left, that's the thing that they often say, think about who you are based somewhat on this.
Yeah.
Again, it's economic development, but it's social development, and it's finding the spirit of those towns and helping people find them. Sometimes in the same way that a lot of people will look at ourselves and will think, well, I'm too fat, or I'm too skinny, or my teeth are crooked, or will find something. Other animals don't judge themselves like that. Wolves don't run around thinking I'm fat. But in the same way that we as humans tend to judge ourselves, we sometimes misjudge our communities. And I think it's really important that we psychologically take a look at our communities and realize how special we are.
Yeah,
heck
be authentic. Absolutely.
Heck yeah.
I got 2 more things I'll tell you. Since
Lord,
you're
yeah.
Creepalachia,
Let's do it.
Kind of vibes with you.
You read my mind. I got to ask Jennings about some haunted stuff. So tell me what's going on.
You've heard of Rush Run or Red Ash and the island?
I've heard of Red Ash.
So you've heard of the
I haven't heard the story.
Okay. So there's an island in the New River. If you go up a little bit above Thurmond, you see Rush Run and Red Ash there.
Got it.
There's a island in the middle of the river there that I guess it used to be like the get-together place for the company and the community. And they had concert hall there and would play their baseball games there, which is another cool thing about the gorge that I want to go into later. But they ended up, it was their entertainment place. And then I'm pretty sure it was the flu or tuberculosis. Which one was it?
It was tuberculosis.
Came through and basically wiped out a lot of people. There's 200, pretty sure around 200 graves on an island in the middle of the New River.
Right now?
Yep.
Can you find them? Or are they covered
you
up?
got a hike there. Yeah, no, you can see them. Yeah.
Oh, man.
So that's something else we want to help take care of. And then the last creepy thing I'll tell you, Leyland, where I'm from, this picture is really cool. So it is of 19 of the survivors. In 1915, there was an explosion in Leyland. And it ended up killing 100 and, oh gosh, I'm going to get the number wrong. I want to say 114 or 115 men. It's the fourth deadliest in the state.
Really?
Yeah. And you had never heard of Leyland before. So,
wow.
Which I'm used to, but they do now have a monument for it. I think they built it 10 or 15 years ago. I think it does need some upkeep and just something to help protect it because it's an awesome monument. But it's really
Leyland explosion. I made a note.
Yeah. A lot of men died, but it was also, I'm pretty sure, the first documented case where miners blocked themselves in to avoid the afterdamp. And they lived for 5 days and came out and survived.
Goodness. Afterdamp. What is that exactly?
The black damp. I think.
Yeah, I've heard of. Okay.
And they basically protected themselves from that, lived for 5 days and came out. And you can find handwritten letters that one of the people wrote to their family, and they talk about eating the tree bark from the timbers and stuff like that. But yeah, it was I'm pretty sure the first documented time in our whole country or anywhere that they were able to live after blocking themselves in. And then the other cool thing that had always stuck with me, and I showed Dave, the town cemetery. I'm not sure if it was one or if there was two and they were split, but there's one that's forgotten. It's the Black Cemetery. That's something else we want to save. But then there's the town cemetery that you can go and see and visit today. And there's at least 2 miners who were buried there that died in the explosion. And they have really nice headstones, like very ornate, big concrete headstones and or granite. I'm not sure, but what's always struck me is they have their born date, but then instead of death date, it says killed on March 15th, 1915 or something like that, whatever the day was. But that's what their headstones say. And you can still see that there at Leyland. And that's what got me wondering. And yeah, the families and the countries that they were from, because there was a lot of immigrants, I guess, paid for the headstones. And that's what they had put on there.
I might have to do a whole friggin' 3 months on this place. This is crazy. I've never that Red Ash Cemetery. Can you camp out in the middle of it?
Yeah, you could camp there. It would be backcountry.
Legal to do that.
And by the way, it's smallpox. That's what.
Okay, smallpox.
But yeah. Hike down the South Side Trail from Brooklyn campground.
How long are we talking?
Hike half an hour, 45-minute hike.
Oh yeah, I could do that. Yeah. I need to get my cousin Chance. I don't know if you know him, Rasso. He worked for the national park for forever.
Sure, yeah.
You know him? That's my first cousin.
Really?
Yeah. That's my dude. He goes down there all the time. He's like, hey, my kid goes with him to hunt salamanders. They'll go when it gets like in April.
Yeah.
April, May. And I need to I've been telling him, I'm like, I'm gonna go, man. I'm gonna quit being so sorry this year. Get my butt outside. I mean, I get outside, but it's usually to go and like look at some random grave. And I mean, but that would be what this is.
Yeah, right. Well, 200 of them in the river. Yeah.
2 birds with one stone.
Don't stop now.
Yeah. Well, you said something about baseball. Is there a baseball team?
So yeah, actually back when the coal camps were booming, I guess just about every town that you see up there had their own team, either baseball or if they didn't have the land for an actual baseball field, they would make a softball, make a bigger ball. And yeah, they all had teams and would play. And that's something else that there's a couple of books out actually where you can read about it and it documents it really well. but that's something that we also want to kind of highlight and talk about. I think, like it just speaks to growing up when I did in Leyland, like you never caught a game anywhere or a crowd watching anything unless it was the people on the road going out to see the cops at the neighbors,
Sure.
But,
and you grew up when was your growing up period?
I was born in 95. I graduated from Meadow Bridge. Shout out Meadow Bridge 2013. So
what's your
Leyland,
mascot?
The Wildcats.
It's a classic.
Wildcats. Fought consolidation for 40 years and they're still there. Got a brand new school. So
the mouse that roared, those folks have they've
had some
somehow
headaches
won.
out of us. So they let us keep a school, I guess.
That's good.
Baseball was huge in the coal fields.
Yeah.
That was the tie that bound everything.
Yeah, that's what I was going to mean. It speaks to the, just the difference. I mean, of course, I played on my school teams, but community recreation, like that wasn't a thing really growing up. I mean, Fayetteville and Oak Hill would have their festivals and things, but I don't know, just the fact that each town had the pride to put together a team, or even if the companies ran it, like the people were still there supporting them. So I don't know. I think that's another really cool thing that just kind of speaks to the whole lives that people live their whole entire lives here on that little map right there, and people know nothing about it.
Yeah, for sure. I just did a story about baseball in West Virginia, and I was finding photos of like McDowell County teams and like all kinds of different.
Oh yeah, they had a massive stadium down there, and I think they had a couple people from the Welch team actually go to play professionally in the Negro leagues. So
yeah, it's so much. You know what it was? We didn't have phones, so you got to do something. It's like, I'm going to join the baseball team. Why not? It's good for me. I don't even know what was good for us back then, but anyway, there's a lot of things that I think they really nailed it, and we kind of screwed it up.
Yeah, right. As society moved forward.
Yeah. A lot of things they got really wrong. But yeah, for sure. Well, cool. So wrapping up here, what would you like to let people know? How can they get involved with the society? How can they help? Where can they visit?
Yeah. So just they want to get some information and sign up. We do have, of course, we offer free membership, so they can go to our website. It's nrgorgehs.com. And they can sign up for free there, just to get news and things like that from us. Stay up to date on what we're doing. We also have offerings of different levels of paid memberships that people can do, just depending upon how much they want to get involved and help us meet our goals. We have several projects we're trying to work on. Of course, the first is establishing a museum, I would say. And then from there, we want to do a lot of field stuff, offering resources for kids and schools. Like I said, reclaiming the cemeteries, saving those. So just go to our website there, look for some information. If you have any questions, feel free to email us. It's all on there as well. And then people, I think I'm going to have tickets up in the next week or so for our first get-together event. I think it's going to be April 4th, right before Easter. So when you're visiting family, bring them to Hawk's Nest for the first annual New River Gorge Historical Society ramp dinner.
What kind of food we talking here?
We're gonna have the traditional ramp, with potatoes and onions and some egg dishes, just the normal. But then we're hoping to collaborate with some local businesses to try to do some ramp inspired dishes, ramp burgers, or let them have some freedom, but also give them a chance to showcase themselves. Because we're all about community collaboration and helping local people. So
best ramp burger I've had, and I don't know if they do it anymore. It was seasonal when they did do it. Black Circle Bistro in Beckley.
I just had lunch there today for the first time. Wow, they're good.
If y'all are listening, I think y'all listen to the show. Holler at my boy Jennings here. We gotta figure something out. But yeah. Well, cool. Well, I appreciate y'all coming. David, tell them all about West Virginia Explorer. What's the goals with it? Like, where are we headed? You still going to keep it going?
Oh, yeah. Another 25 years.
Heck yeah.
I mean, that's the plan. The plan is to do as much as we possibly can to be a forum for West Virginia. So, you can never tell. Over 25 years, it's gone all over the place because things happened. Google came along. Wikipedia came along. Airbnb came along. Everything changes constantly, but I keep at it. So
heck yeah. Oh, where can they find you as far as your outlets?
WVExplorer.com. That's the West Virginia Explorer.
Heck yeah. And you're on social media. I know you're on Facebook.
Yeah, and I think it's Facebook at /WVExplorer.com.
Awesome. Yeah, I got it here up on the site. I'm loading it up.
But yeah, we're rebuilding the site now. The new webmasters, they're shocked. They didn't know what to do with 12,000 pages. It's a lot.
12,000? Golly.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pages. Cool. So I may need to figure out, do you have ads on this page? Like I'm trying to figure out the revenue streams with everything we're doing, and I'm getting a few of them lined out, but one thing is website traffic that I'm not really.
We can talk about that.
Okay.
Absolutely. Man, I would like to converge. There's got to be ways we can work together.
Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah, it's a beautiful site. Well, thank you all for being here and doing this. I always love stories like this, so it's just really cool to know that there are people out there actively working on doing things I'm too lazy to do. So
well, thanks for having us.
Yeah,
amen.
Yeah,
if you want to join or anybody wants to join, just get on the website there, and we'll be putting a lot of information out soon. So
heck yeah. I'll be sure to put the link in the description, so go down there, check it out, check out both websites, and follow their efforts, because they're dire. I'll just say dire. Like, what are we going to do 100 years from now, boys? I mean, we're going to be dead.
Well, yeah, we will be.
But maybe not, because this is Creepalachia. We may be floating around in some poor infrastructure that we're still upset about. So
out of the three of us, the one that's a denier, I think, might be first.
There we go. Yeah. Oh, well, he probably walks the most. I mean, he's out doing all these stories. I get out of the truck and then, shoot wherever I'm at and get back in the truck. I don't walk too much. But all right, thank y'all. Everyone else out there, be sure to like this video before you leave. Subscribe to Creepalachia on YouTube. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, take a minute and leave a review. That'll really help the show be found. And we are on Patreon now. We're doing Patreon exclusive stories. And we are on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram on a little hiatus, but we'll be posting again soon. So follow us there. And above all else, everyone else, always remember, protect these coal towns, and long live Appalachia.
Amen.
Amen.
Absolutely.